And hello, everyone, and welcome to Pro Wrestling Inside. Now, we're going to look through some programs, our own collection of programs from Georgia Championship Wrestling. Grew up in Georgia Championship Wrestling from 1973 until 1983, when Ole Anderson fired my father, Ron West, and Les Thatcher the same exact day. He would probably wish he never fired him on that particular day. Before we go over this program right here, though, someone asked on our Facebook page, there were 4 matches, and they were asking the question about, oh, man, that's all they had was 4 matches. But I will tell you, out of the 4 matches, it was still about a 2-hour show. And people said, man, the guys really had to work. Well, they did. On Thursday nights, Rome, Georgia would run at the Memorial Gym, and Athens, Georgia at the J&J Center. They would put about 10 guys on each card. So they had about 20 guys. Now, the territory only had, by the way, Jack's going to translate all what I'm saying later on so you can understand what I said, especially for any northern people. Evidently, we can't be understood in the northern states. I'm Jack Lord again. Let me change it. While we're talking, let me just go ahead and change my name.
Gimmick infringement.
Yes, I'm doing it. Let me just show right now. Let me show this card right here. This was in Gainesville, Georgia, and we've showed this before. Let me go big on this and kind of explain this. As you see, there was only 4 matches on the card. 10 guys on this card. Now, people say, well, now how did this go? I mean, guys had to go 30-minute matches. Well, this first match, Ben Alexander and Ten Drew would be 1 fall, 20-minute time limit. That match would go about 15 minutes. This tag match would be 1 fall, 30-minute time limit. Bill Howard, Carl Fergie against Jerry Stubbs and Mike Stallings. By the way, Jerry Stubbs, Mike Stallings. I believe Mike Stallings is Jerry Stubbs' cousin. Am I correct there, Jack?
Yes.
All right, this match would be 1 fall, 30. It would go around 20 minutes. Georgia TV title, Blackjack Lanza, Bob Armstrong. That would be about a 45-minute time limit, maybe an hour. And they would go somewhere around 25, 30 minutes. Then your main event, it'd go about 30 minutes. People say, wow, that's some long matches. Well, but they told the stories during the matches. They told a story. This would come out to be about an hour and 45 to a 2-hour show, because in between each one of these matches, and Jack, you know this to be true, even in Columbus, Georgia, there was some time in between each match.
Yep.
Sometimes 5-10 minutes, sometimes in between each match. I hated that even back then. Do you remember this, Jack?
I do. I remember it well.
I mean, just keep on. You're thinking, man, is they ever going to come back? I think they were still putting together the finishes. I think that might have been one. Or they were arguing about who's going over. I'm not for sure. But now let's look at this. Now, when you ran Atlanta, now out of these cards right here, now this was Gainesville, Georgia. This was on a Saturday. Gainesville would have ran. Griffin, Georgia would have run. Also, Carrollton, Georgia would have run in 1979. They had 3 shows. So they would get a bunch of local talent to come in and work these shows. People like Ted Allen, Jimmy Powell. Those guys would work on these cards, and they would be the first matches, especially when you were talking about Athens at the J&J Center. Athens J&J Center. You ever been there, Jack?
No.
It was a nightclub, basically. And I don't know that it held no more than 300 people. If it did, I'm surprised it held 300. It was a little bitty place. It was dark in there as a dungeon inside this building. I mean, it was. I always liked going to Rome, Georgia instead. But I always felt scared, even when I went to the restroom. It was like going into a haunted house or something. It was that dark getting into that. Now, I will tell you, that this building here, the Athens GA Center, was a whole lot better than Houma, Louisiana, or Laranja, Louisiana, at the Coliseum. That place, you had to actually use the restroom on a concrete slab. That's what it was. And the dressing rooms were so small that you had to be careful when you put your boots on. You wasn't putting your boots on somebody else's feet. That's how close you were in Laranja at the Coliseum. But let's show this right here. This is going to be actually these two shows here, and I'll try to pick both of them up. These shows are together. One of them was on Friday, August 3rd. The other one is Saturday, August 4th. And as you can see, there was talent that wasn't on the other card. So in another town, Ray Candy would have been in another town. So it looks like Killer Cox would have been another out of town. Austin Idol, Stan Hansen, Bob Armstrong. So you see that they had enough talent. They could run the two towns. And then on Friday, Atlanta City Auditorium, that's where they would run that. Matches were, back then the matches were longer matches, and the people were into them for the whole time. Richard Hood asked this question, and who had the best venue in Georgia? Who had the best venue? I think Atlanta City Auditorium, Jack. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, Augusta, did you ever go to Augusta to the Bell Auditorium?
No, I never did go to Bell.
Almost the same exact atmosphere. The building was almost identical to it. They lost in 1979. There was sometime in 1979, maybe June of 1979, Georgia Championship Wrestling lost the Atlanta City Auditorium. They were tearing it down. They had rats so big. I don't think they was rats. They were gophers. They had them so big in there. They didn't even care when you were cheering and clapping. They'd just come out there and just cheer and clap with you. That's how big these gophers were. So they knocked down the Atlanta City Auditorium. Atlanta was never the same. Georgia Championship Wrestling was never the same in Atlanta. They didn't have that venue to run on Friday nights and then once a month run the Omni. And it really hurt it. And the same thing happened in Augusta. The Bell Auditorium, which was still there, but they did it almost like they did the Memorial Auditorium. They put seats in it that they elevated the whole thing, and it just killed it, and it hurt Augusta, Georgia, as well, because those buildings had wrestling in them since the 1950s.
Yep.
But I'll tell you that Rome, Georgia, was a good atmosphere for professional wrestling.
Yep.
As long as they had the ring line. At some point they took the ring line down, and it just did not have that atmosphere anymore. Did you ever go to a wrestling show in Rome?
I did several times before and after the ring light. So yeah, I'll testify to that difference.
Yeah. Let's see, Michael Barr, Lawsuit City, Brentford, used the wrong name. Let's see, where was we at? Michael Barr asked the question too, did the same promotion have all those wrestlers? Yes. Georgia Championship Wrestling on Monday nights, we run Augusta, Georgia. That was ran by Georgia Championship Wrestling Incorporated, which was owned by Jim Barnett, Bill Watts, Jack and Jerry Briscoe, Paul Jones. There might have been somebody else there that I'm leaving out. Tuesdays was Macon, Georgia, at the Macon Coliseum. That was entirely Fred Ward. Fred Ward actually promoted it. All he did was give a percentage to Georgia. It was called a booking fee. Wednesday was Columbus, Georgia, at the was that the Municipal Auditorium in Columbus?
Yes.
And in Columbus was Wednesday. That again was Fred Ward. He would promote that. It was his show. He just got a booking fee. Georgia Championship Wrestling got a booking fee for booking the talent in it. Thursdays, it was kind of it was Rome, Georgia for years, and Albany, Georgia for years. Albany, Georgia was at a skating rink for many years on Thursdays. Great atmosphere, was spectacular. Well, they either lost the building or at some point during all this, they said they didn't want wrestling there. I don't know exactly why they lost it, but boy, the crowds were incredible in Albany. They quit running Albany, then they ran Athens at the J&J Center, and then sometimes there was for a while there that Rome, Georgia ran, Albany, Georgia ran, and Athens, Georgia ran. All those three deals, and they would use a lot of local talent at that point in time of the year. Friday was Atlanta at the City Auditorium. Saturday morning they would do television. Saturday they would do Carrollton or Griffin, which was run by Georgia Championship Wrestling, and then years later Griffin would move out. Chattanooga, Tennessee would be put in a spot when Nick Goulas sold his territory to Jim Barnett. Sundays, Marietta, Georgia, Cobb County Civic Center. Very easy territory. It was a very easy territory. Everybody wanted to work Georgia Championship Wrestling because you had a $65 guarantee back in 1979, 1976. That was pretty good money to work in Atlanta in those days. So, but remember, Georgia Championship Wrestling was drawing some major houses everywhere they went. So wrestlers were making more than $65 by no stretch of imagination. These guys were probably the superstar on this Atlanta show. He was probably making about $400. So that was pretty good money back in 1979. Let's go through this program real quick, and then we'll move on. But here is Dusty Rhodes, Wrestling 2. Together on this program here, both guys very over. You know what? I may have shoved this program at one point. I believe I did.
While we're talking about the $65 though, I did the calculator. That's $240 now.
Oh, that's
a pretty good payoff.
That was a pretty good payoff, but then most guys were making more than that. Georgia was on fire at the time. It's 1979. Georgia was drawing some tremendous houses everywhere we went, and I was selling thousands of programs a week. Thousands. It's making $10 for. I was only 9 years old, but still, I was only making like $10. Dusty Rhodes, Stan Hansen with Gordon Soley. I remember this well. I remember this going on very well. And here is Ric Flair. And I believe this is Ric Flair against Mike Stallings. Ronnie West refereeing. Ric Flair with a lovely young lady. Always styling and profiling. He always did. Here is, I think these are photographs from the Atlanta City Auditorium. I really can't see. Can you see who's in this picture? Because it's over the top of me at this point. Let me see if I can find the. Paul Jones explains to Hanson and Dusty as Jay West looks on. Paul Jones. A lot of people ask who Paul Jones was. There he is right there. Promoter Paul Jones, 1979, was still making matches at the Atlanta City Auditorium. King Kong Mosca, which was tremendous, by the way, against Tommy Rich. Canadian Lumberjack match going on right there with, I believe it was probably was Wahoo and Dusty Rhodes, I would say, against Koloff and Ole Anderson. It could have been Stan Hansen, because I think this is when Stan Hansen turned. So it could have been Stan Hansen, Dusty Rhodes against Wally McDaniel and Ole Anderson. Ole and Ivan Koloff. I'm pretty sure that's what that was. This is when Tommy Rich. They said the guy's name is Jim Foreman, and there's old Mike Jackson going against Larry Lathan. I would say Mike got a win right there. You think Larry Lathan beat him, or do you think Mike Jackson won that match?
There's no telling. No telling. Larry got used a little. He got pushed just enough, to give him some legitimacy, but he didn't win every match by no means.
Here we are again. Bobby Heenan, the brain with Blackjack Lanza. And there he is beating someone up. And by the way, my father, the referee outfit you see him in right there, he actually stole that ideal from Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan would wear those kind of suits to manage in. And he said, hey, where are you getting those made at? I think I could referee in those. And everybody got those afterwards. But he got away from the striped shirt and he went to those. He had a maroon one, he had a black one, he had a red one, just different colors of these. And they were pretty expensive back then. And I'm not for sure. What's that place, Jack, that you always talk about that made
K&H?
I believe that's who made those.
It is.
But if you enjoyed this video, folks, give us the big thumbs up. Subscribe to the page. Go one step further. Hit that notification bell and watch the video that's right down below us. Hey, we went through all kinds of programs and stuff, and people are enjoying it. So we'll do more of this. We'll see you on the next video right here on Pro Wrestling Inside Now.